we're going to take a look at a general overview of all the different types of cells that can be found in the bloodstream based on what's necessary for fighting disease. And then we're going to take a look at cytotoxic T-cells a little bit. It's a fourth type of cell we're going to introduce here. And then finally, I know it's all kind of hodgepodge, finally we're going to be looking at the production of monoclonal antibodies, especially in the treatment of rabies or something like that. Okay, so things that can be found in the blood. You should be able to list a whole bunch of things. That comes up as a question quite often. A list is quite easy, but you've got platelets, erythrocytes, lymphocytes, phagocytes, and there's a little idea of proportion when it's all related together. We've got types of blood cells in general. You've got your red blood cells and white blood cells. The red blood cells, you should know, are called erythrocytes, RBC. In general, white blood cells are called leukocytes. And here we've divided up the leukocytes into 4 types that are necessary for you to understand immune defense in IB biology. So we're looking at B cells. These are lymphocytes. B cells are the ones that produce antibodies. Helper T cells help with the activation of these particular cells. These are also the targets of HIV. You've got phagocytes. These are general, non-specific white blood cells, kind of like Pac-Man, that go and just try to devour a whole bunch of different types of things through endocytosis. And then you've got cytotoxic T cells, which we haven't addressed specifically in the production of antibodies and the immune system. We haven't really talked about the specific role of cytotoxic T cells, but you can think of them as being very special, as being extra toxic. They like to kill. Toxic. Cyto means having to do with the cells, so it's something like killing cells. So these T cells are killing certain types of cells. So cytotoxic T cells are good because they can also target viral particles that are in the membranes, and they can help to destroy cells that have been infected by viral particles. They can also target different types of cells that are dividing uncontrollably, so they're also targeting some kinds of cancer cells. Okay, we're going to skip that section over here. Excuse me, I'm not going to have time to edit that out. Also, cytotoxic T cells, they're a specific type of cell as long as you can associate their role with destruction of viral cells infected with viruses, and then also cancerous types of cells. I'll leave this here for you to take a look at if you want, but I won't be addressing that specifically. And finally, the production of monoclonal antibodies. Rabies is caused by a virus when you get attacked by an animal that could be carrying these viral particles in their actual saliva. What happens is people actually can die really, really fast before the body even produces enough antibodies to help try to get it under control. So what usually happens when people get bitten by an animal that's suspected to be rabid are we can instantly vaccinate against rabies. Okay, vaccinate against rabies. At that point, it's kind of too late, as you are already suspected to. Well, that's the whole thing. You're not sure, and it's going to take too long to find out if it's actually there. But if you can catch the dog or catch the animal, the raccoon, and bring it in, they can actually test the animal and find out. Sometimes you can't, but you suspect that might be the case. So you can simultaneously vaccinate against rabies to protect yourself in case it hasn't caused a full-blown infection, and you can also inject antibodies at the same time. Now, these are not antibodies that your body has produced. These are antibodies that some other organism has produced for you. We call them monoclonal antibodies because we've made a specific clone of the correct type, one clone group of the correct type of antibodies, and we're injected into your body to help target the pathogens, and then the macrophages can go and try to take them out faster. So here's a general procedure for how to produce these antibodies. The vaccines we've talked about before, but to produce the actual monoclonal antibodies, you have to get somebody to make them for you. So we actually take the antigen. In this case, it would be an antigen. It would be viral particles that contain the antigen, which are the triggers that correspond to rabies, and we put them into some kind of animal, and we cause that animal to go through the process of producing the correct antibody. So that animal actually goes through the immune response and hopefully doesn't die in the process and produces these antibodies. We try to identify the B cells that are producing the correct antibody. So these B cells have been stimulated and hopefully are making clones of themselves and are producing the correct antibody that matches with the rabies viral antigens. And we extract these B cells, these specific B cells from the animal. We now take these B cells and we're actually going to combine them with some tumor cells that can just grow and divide endlessly. So when they're combined together, we call them hybridoma cells. So the B cells are fused with tumor cells. So we've got a cell that produces the correct type of antibody, and we've got cells that can divide endlessly. We combine them together to make a supercell called a hybridoma cell. And what do we get? We get a never-ending clone of cells that are producing the correct antibodies that are actually able to identify the rabies antigens. So in the end, the hybridoma cells are cultured and the antibodies that are produced are extracted and purified, and I can put them into tubes, sterilize them, and then sell them to clinics in case a kid comes in with a actual suspected bite from a rabid animal. And so that then they can be injected into the body, and they can also be vaccinated at the same time. That's probably why you got to get all those different types of shots. Some extra information about rabies. That's not something you want to get. So if you do get bitten by an animal, and you can catch the animal without actually getting yourself in danger of being bitten again, try to do so. Otherwise, you might have to go through this process right here. So check that out, and don't get rabies, but do appreciate how far science has gotten us in terms of fixing you in case you do get rabies. Okay, rough.